All right, we are joined by Rajan today, Rajan Joshi, and we are very excited to have him. He is a defense lawyer in Florida. Got his bachelor's degree from Central Florida and graduated with honors, as well as his law degree from Florida College. He's demonstrated academic achievement, as we'll talk about, wasn't always that way. He earned his highly coveted book award in criminal procedure. He was also selected and employed by the Dean of Student Affairs as a first-year tutor to current students. So he's always had a record of success. Working as a legal intern for Seminole County, he's among the top 5 highest scores in the bar exam in the entire state of Florida. He also has a superb rating of 10.0 from AVO, which is the highest rating attorney can receive in that area. So sit back and enjoy this conversation with Raj. All right, hello everyone. We are joined by Rajan today. Very excited to get into your story and all the things that you've been up to. So I think we always kind of just want to start at the beginning. So, you're a successful attorney now, had a great career, had a course to get there that we're going to dive into. It's very interesting. But I'm wondering, are there things from your childhood that kind of set you on that path, or are there things that kind of set those things in motion as you look back?
Well, back in up until I finished high school, I was a really poor student. Honestly, I didn't have the confidence in myself that I was smart academically, and I applied myself in other areas. I really, focused on working out and training, and built my self-esteem up in that way. But I always felt like I was lacking in a certain area, up until the point I finished high school. My grades were horrible. I wasn't focusing, my attendance in school wasn't great. And, but my focus in the gym was so intense. I wouldn't miss a workout. I trained twice a day in high school, prep my own meals. And once I finished, high school, I started looking at other people who were successful in their academics, and I started asking them what they did. And the answer was so easy. They just applied themselves. They just focused on studying and working hard. And I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I could do that. But I said, you know what? The same focus I put into bodybuilding, into training, into nutrition, I'm going to try putting it into studying. And that formula worked. Overnight, I went from being a almost a straight C student to a straight A student, and that carried me on. I always wanted to be a lawyer. I always felt that passion about arguing and helping people. I loved doing that. But when I was younger, I didn't believe I could do it. And then once I saw that hey, this path actually works. I really strived for it. I got into law school. Modestly speaking, I did very well. I ended up scoring top 5 in the bar exam in the state of Florida. And, earlier, I mean, I bombed my ACTs, I bombed, almost every test. So, it took change. It took willing to change. And that's been the, the formula of my success in anything I've ever done.
Okay. Yeah, that ability to change. So when you were going through that process, what was kind of the when you're looking for, I think a lot of people when they're in that role or in that position, they're thinking, what do I do? What do I like, just what is it, right? Like, where were you able to find that focus, or was it just that you had always seen law as that path and you just saw that education was important to that role?
Well, I thought education was important, but what I had to do is I had to apply myself 100%. When the same way I was with working out, if I had to work out, I didn't care what else was going on. If there's a party, I'm going to get it done. And I applied myself that same way when I got into college and law school. If anything else was going on, in law school, I missed every Thanksgiving dinner with my family because exams were the following Monday. And I found that, 3 things in my life that have always worked really well. And when I apply these 3 things, I find that things, I can accomplish almost any goal, realistic goal I set myself to. And that is hard work, discipline, and sacrifice. I got to sacrifice certain things in order to get things I want. And the more I'm willing to do that, the more I gain, and I feel good about myself when I do it. Throughout my life, I've hit some bad roads, after that, and so but it was that drive to not remain the same, to change.
You said something about hard roads. What kind of obstacle did you have to overcome at the time?
Well, when I started working as a lawyer, modestly speaking, I did very well very quickly. I was a prosecutor, got moved up very quickly, was doing well in trials, my career was going well. I ended up going into private practice, joining a law firm, coming to Orlando and joining a very major successful law firm with Mark Nejame. But during that time and throughout my life, one thing that I'd always struggled with was alcohol. I'm not ashamed of it, at all. I'm a recovering alcoholic. And, as my career started advancing, my drinking started getting, worse. I would justify it. I would sit there and justify it. Okay. Oh, I just got this promotion. Yeah, I got a drink. Oh man, I had a rough day. I got a drink. Oh man, it's Tuesday. I got a drink. So it started a thing that, it started becoming a habit. It started becoming, a nightly thing after work. And, I just saw that, whatever I was gaining with whatever we call success, on an objective standard, which, I don't measure as success anymore. But, I wasn't happy because I kept going to this place, a dark place, to find relief, which wasn't giving me the relief I wanted. I was looking for something that I couldn't get. I was looking for a peace and a calmness in a bottle, and it wasn't giving it to me. And then what happened was, alcohol started causing more issues, health issues, other issues, relationship issues. I started isolating from people and not feeling myself in social events unless I had, a few drinks. Work was still doing well, but other areas of my life were taking a toll. And so, that was something I had to overcome. And what I had to do in order to overcome it is I had to ask for help. Now, being a lawyer, and at this point of my career, I had opened up my own law firm. Things were going well as far as, professionally, as far as, modestly speaking, financially, but personally and inside, I was empty. And I had to humble myself. I had to be realistic. I had to be honest with myself. I've got a problem and I can't deal with it on my own. All my life, I was able to deal with things that I had, with hard work, sacrifice, discipline. I applied that. I applied it to, work. I applied it to academics. I applied it to bodybuilding. But with this, that wasn't the answer. I would try to use willpower. I try to use my strength, and I'd fail every single time. I was like, I'm never going to drink again. And next thing you know, at 5 p.m., I'm like, hey, I'm going to go have a drink. It wasn't that bad. And same cycle. So what I did is I looked to help. I looked to people, people who could guide me, who had been through, recovery. And that changed my life. That was the point that, everything in my life changed drastically for the better. Every single thing.
So when did you get to, I'm sorry, when did you get to the point that you realized, because the realization I've got a problem is one thing, but then actually taking the action to say, okay, I got this problem and this is the end of it. I am going to take care of it. That's a lot of strength and a lot of overcoming to when did you, how did it, actually not when, but how did you do that?
I hit my own personal bottom. And I hit a space in my life where, I was scared, I wasn't feeling good about myself. I needed to change. I didn't like the direction in which I was going. And, it took more than strength. It took, initially, it took honesty. Self-honesty, because the hardest thing it is to look at yourself and say, I've got a problem. Everyone else has a problem. I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I could justify why I was drinking. Oh man, I did this. I just won a case. And no, it's bullshit. I was telling myself, total bullshit. Right. And what I had to do is I had to become humble. Just being willing to ask for help. Be willing to look for another way, because my way wasn't working. Whatever I was doing, my way wasn't working when it came to this way. And I'm blessed. I found a life. I found a life I was looking for. I found the life I was looking for, and that comfort, that ease that I was looking for in alcohol, I found through a program that works for me. And I put it first in my life. I put it before my family. I put it before my work. I put it before my my training, my bodybuilding, because when I have that, that's the root of everything else. If I don't have that, if I don't have my sobriety, I lose everything. So I give that all my attention. And it's easy to do. It's really easy to do, and the gifts I've gotten from it are amazing. I feel like I've walked into an enchanted garden with this way of life. Honestly, it's amazing. And looking back to where I was 6 years ago to where I am today, and I'm not talking about financially, I'm not talking about things I have or anything like that. I'm talking about the peace in my mind. I'm talking about living in the present, being able to be present with my kids, being able to be calm and be able to let go of resentments that I've learned to, and be a happy person, genuinely happy. Money didn't make me happy. Success didn't make me happy. Fame didn't make me happy. Happiness came in from myself, and it came in through working on myself, working on things that were holding me back. I was my worst problem. It wasn't alcohol. It was me.
Okay, gotcha.
So with that, I want to go back. You said something about your 3Ds that you go by, right? Just give me your 3Ds again.
It's hard work, discipline, and sacrifice.
Okay, sacrifice. I thought they were Ds. All right, those three things. All right, because that's why I was having trouble. Sacrifice is what I want to go back to. So it wasn't Ds. I've been a little. Because I think we look at sacrifice as a sacrifice, something where we have to give up, but we don't realize what we're going to get. So I wonder how you view sacrifice and how you use it, because I think a lot of us see, I can't have that cake. I can't, I got to wake up early to go work out because I got a full-time job, all those things, right? How do you view sacrifice, and how should people see that?
Well, the way I do it is I set myself a goal, and I'm not going to let anything come in the way of it. Nothing. I mean, nothing or no one. When I set a goal, if it's, to get in a certain shape, get in a certain condition, I'm going to put everything I have into it. When I was taking the bar exam, I was going to let anything stop me, nothing. And anything that comes in the way that may cause me to not reach that goal, I see it as expendable. It doesn't belong in my life. So when I'm training and I want to get in a certain condition, let's just say it's summertime, I want to get in beach condition. People can eat pizza around me. People can eat cakes around me. There's no way. I program my mind that I hate it. There's no way I'm going to touch it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to let myself down, because I know every time I've ever given in to temptation that is against what I want, I suffer. And I know that I've suffered so much, like even in my own training, when I'd say, I'm going to start taking the days off, I'm going to take it a little easy, I'm going to start eating, hamburgers. All of a sudden I pack on a bunch of weight and I don't feel good about myself. My health goes bad. So I've tried to go the other way, where I just said, forget it, I'm just going to eat whatever I want, put on 30 pounds. My blood work was horrible. And so I've tried it that way. So sacrifice to me is, it's a small price to pay for the bigger riches.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, all right. So let's get into the career a little bit. So you graduate college, you go into the corporate structure, right? And you work your way up. Talk a little bit about that corporate structure and what's required, what you have to sacrifice to work your way up that corporate ladder.
When I started as a prosecutor, I was 100%, a lot of cases went to trial. I had to prepare, sometimes I'd be working nights. When I went to private practice, especially when I started at this, really prestigious law firm, I had a lot to prove. And I had, I was a young guy over there, and I would work nonstop. I mean, to me, nothing was going to come in the way of that.
Right.
I'd work every night till 9:00 at night. I would wake up, go to court, come back, see clients, go to depositions, go to the jail, come back, draft motions, just work. And, the hard work paid off. The hard work, that amount of time was, and I didn't even blink at it. At that time, it was just like, this is what you do. This is how I mean, I grew up one blessing I had was my grandfather was in the Indian Army, and he was very strict, and he'd come stay with me when I was, younger and a teenager. And I was used to sleeping in until noon on summer vacations. He'd have me up at 6 in the morning and have me cutting the grass with him. And working to his level of perfection was so high. Once I was able to obtain that, then, working for any boss, working to appease any judge, it seemed easy, minute compared to my grandfather.
Right. That's funny. That's funny. So you did that though, and then you chose at some point to go to private practice, or I guess, so have you opened your own practice? You went from private practice
Yes.
in a corporate structure to like, so what was the thinking there, and what did that give you? Did you stop working as much, or what was the goal there?
Well, the goal was to try and advance myself, because I'd been at the firm. I loved the firm. I loved the people there. I had the best mentor ever, Mark DJ, amazing guy. But it came time to a point where, I needed to go out on my own. If I didn't do it then, I didn't know when I was ever going to do it. So I did it. I overcame my fears and just went out and did it. And what it has given me is, it's given me a sense of, I can practice law for my clients the way, I want to cater to them, which is wonderful, and I'm able to devote as much as I can to the clients and get myself, the team I want, to work with the clients. And I've learned a lot. Recently I actually just had a huge learning lesson. I had an attorney who I had thought very high of. He came to my office and just quit on the spot. No notice, nothing. Just said, I'm leaving. I'm opening my own firm, and that was all a sudden, unexpected change. But what I did is I embraced the change. I embraced it, and I found out that was the best thing for the firm. The universe just gave me a gift, because the person had very good qualities in one area, great negotiator, but had a lot of limitations in the other area other areas that were really important, and I was overlooking. I was overlooking the fact, about the litigation skills, and I was taking on those roles to compensate. And had the departure not been so abrupt, I probably would have tried to hold on to it. And letting the change happen and embracing the change has just all of a sudden made such a positive, amazing impact on the law firm. It's unbelievable. And so one thing I realized, and I learned this, and I learned lessons from changes and from negative experiences. One thing I learned is never settle. Never settle if something isn't working up to expectations. Don't look just at the good. You got to be realistic of the overall stuff. And that's the way I live my life. If there is unexpected change, try to embrace it and try and look how you can make it better. And our law firm's grown a lot. This year's been a real blessed year. And I've had to sometimes get thrown into the fire trials out of nowhere, and it's really reassured my passion for this profession. I had a trial where I was called in. I just got the case less than a week, and the judge forced me to trial, and I worked around the clock like I used to, just around the clock. And I got a 13-minute not guilty, and it was a very serious case. The guy was looking at 30 years. So it does give me that old drive and passion back.
How does fitness play into that? I would think, focus is very important. I think when you're dealing, like you said, dealing with someone's life like that, where something you do is so critical to getting a guilty or not guilty verdict, all the stuff that that hangs in the balance of you being on point. How does fitness play into that and your success?
Oh, it's huge. It is a huge component of it. Fitness, it's my method of relaxation. It decompresses me. It gets rid of the stress. Every morning, the first thing I do when I wake up before I have breakfast is I hit 45 minutes cardio. And I don't care if I have court at 9 o'clock, I'm doing cardio at 5 a.m. And if I have to prepare, I am not missing my cardio session at all. And, throughout the workday, I know I'm going to the gym at the end of the day. I have something to look forward to. And I can, no matter how stressful my day was or whatever happened, I got a place where I can go feel alive and train. And, the more I focus on fitness and nutrition, the more energy I have. And the more I can, really be alert and intelligent on the cases when I'm working. I'm 100%. So fitness helps me in every area of my life. I mean, it's one of the most important.
Well, it's proven that it increases your memory. You're not old, obviously, but as we're growing older, while we're exercising, it increases your memory. I guess keeps the amount or the number of brain cells at least in a better way than if you were not to work out. And at that particular level here, that we are doing this on a bodybuilding level, then that's definitely, it's something that you can feel later on.
And Robert, if I may interject something, I will say this: a lot of people have influenced me over the years, and I'll say one thing with this lifestyle, especially the lifestyle I live now. Watching you about 5 years ago, prepping for a show, watching you day by day, watching your physique change, and just seeing that, especially because we're similar in age. You're even older than me.
I'm an old fart, yeah.
Well, we both are, I guess. But just watching you and seeing that evolution, and seeing you day by day coming on, social media, explaining the process, explaining how you're feeling, I was like, wow, I can do that. I did it when I was younger, and that helped you, along with a few other people who I saw as role models, and I saw how you guys were doing it. Now, I wouldn't want to do it to the extreme you guys did. You guys were entering a show. I can do it, up to the point where it's a lifestyle. But, you were a big motivation factor and a big role model for me. You still are. And I see you in the gym, and it always energizes me.
All right, well, I appreciate that.
I'm really interested, kind of to go back to the struggles that you had, the personal struggles you had. I'm sure career-wise, you run into things. I know you've had some national attention in some of the cases you've worked. I wonder, we talked a little bit about this, but how have those things set you up for either to build on or bring you to bigger things? In my experience, like when you have those setbacks, if you push through, you go to a bigger thing. It's usually not the same. It's usually better. So I'm wondering what your input is on that and what you've seen.
At least for me, when I've overcome obstacles, being able to change myself and being able to be honest with myself gives me a strength. And, once I was able to overcome something that had such a strong control over my life, and it's a day-by-day process. I'm never going to say I'm completely cured of alcoholism or any of that. It's a day. I take it one day at a time, and I give it a lot of importance. But the fact that I have been, 5.5 years sober, when I was drinking every day at one point, gives me the confidence that when something comes up, I can do it. If I could overcome that, I can overcome a lot of things, and a lot of things that hold people back and used to hold me back is fear. That's the whole thing. And a lot of times, I was afraid of something that it's all in my mind, and if I look at it and I have faith over fear, I can overcome it. Just like I was explaining, I was thrown into that trial, and that was that's a very stressful situation. I just get into the case. I know that the guy is going to be facing 10 to 30 years, and the judge likely with his record would give him 30. And I got to defend this guy. But instead of getting nervous and anxious, which is my natural reaction, I'm going to say, wait a minute, things have worked out in my past when I just have faith, and I have to do my part. I have to do the work.
Sure.
But, faith over fear has always, worked in for me, and it took faith to get through the hardest times of my life.
So, being that, based on what you just said, and being that you've been in case to have that national scrutiny, that's got to be a whole nother level of stress and pressure. How do you deal with it?
Well, I focus on the client. I focus on what is important, because if I focus on myself and the media attention, then obviously it's going to make me anxious because I'm trying to control what's going on, and it becomes about me. When I just focus on what I should be focusing on, who is the most important person in this situation is my client, then, I'm doing my job. And, if the cameras are there and there's media attention, as long as I am, being a professional, it relieves the anxiety. Now, obviously, when you're looking at cameras and you think, oh my gosh, someone's going to see this and all that stuff, there's always that little bit of butterflies in the stomach, but I overcome it because I look at what my role is in the situation. My role is my client, always, first and foremost.
Right. I would assume too that it's very easy to take what goes on personally, right? When you're dealing with clients, when you're dealing with things that are out, like you said, you're probably trying to control as much as possible. There's so many things out of your control, like juries and judges and all those things that happen. How do you go home at night and sleep and just like, what gives you that comfort that, all right, I did my best, or what is it that helps you get through those moments?
Exactly. As long as I do my part, I have to realize I don't have control over a lot of things. When I try to control things, that's when I'm going to develop fears. The more I try and control in my life, not only in my professional life, but in my personal life, I can't control other people. I can't control, what's going on in Washington. I can only control my reaction. And that's where the power is. So when I'm dealing with the trial, I will put on everything I have. I will give it 100%. But when it goes to the jury, I know right there, and I accept. I have to have acceptance of things I can't control. I accept I have no more control over this. They're back there. They can be talking about whatever. They can rule whichever way they want for whatever reason. I've got to accept it. As long as I did my part, and I have nothing to say, I should have done this, and I always will say I should have done this. I'll always go back and beat myself up for something. But, if it's nothing major where I miss something, then I feel at peace with myself and I'm going to do the best job I can. But, I have to know, and in any aspect of my life, and that's one thing that's really helped me, is letting go of control, not controlling everything around me, not trying to control, because you can't. And that's where people develop. That's where fear comes from a lot of times, is that right. Oh my God, I need this, I need that, and stuff like that. So I have to take a step back, and that's where humility comes in. And the more I practice humility and honesty, the happier I am. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm wondering, there's obviously causes you're passionate about, right? And you're very good at what you do, and you do a lot of immigration. I'm just wondering, I'm interested in how, the system that we have and the immigration stuff going on, all those things, like how do you find your space there and operate in that area of something that's political, but also very something important and something that has just so many flaws, it seems to me, kind of outside looking in? More recently, I haven't been practicing as much immigration law because my criminal law has been very intense. But then again, when there are changes and there's politics involved, the thing I have to do is I can't take it personal. I can't take it on as if, this is being done to my client or it's being done personally to me. I've got to work around the parameters. Within the law, there's always parameters that happen and, guidelines we have to work in. And the thing is navigating around them, finding opportunities around obstacles. That's one thing I always stress. There will be obstacles around it, but there are exceptions, and there are exceptions to exceptions. That's what makes a good lawyer. So when you see the something come up that you just can't go head forward and knock it down, you got to look for ways to side, go in on top of it, underneath it, and stuff like that. And as you look for those opportunities, then that's where you can find relief for your client in certain situations. Sometimes there is no relief, and as a lawyer, that's where we got to accept it. There's the legislature, there's courts that make the law and define the rules and procedures that we have to abide by. And sometimes the situation is not one that is ideal, but you got to work the best you can in that situation. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah, and you brought 2 points down. I'm thinking about, like, a lot of our listeners, and I think a lot of people struggle with. Number one, as you mentioned, like, you weren't finding happiness in drinking and finding happiness in all that you're doing. You had to be, because you were the problem, right? You had to figure out yourself.
That was the problem.
All of that, right?
I'm my worst enemy if I let myself be.
Right, and I think a lot of people. That's Roman and I actually were talking about this earlier today. That we stand in our own way in a lot of ways. And even do some habits that hurt us more than they would if we just, had those self-limiting beliefs. So, I mean, for the people listening and like what you just said too, like there's only so much in our control. And the better we are at understanding that and being okay with that and understanding not everything's going to go our way, especially in today's world where you see people just get upset and lash out on those things. So I'm wondering, based on those two things, what you see and what our listeners can glean from you and your experiences with that.
Well, the one thing with me personally is I had to stop being in denial. I had to stop, thinking that justifying things that I was doing that weren't in my best interest. I had to become honest with myself. And that was a huge factor in that, because once I'm able to be honest with myself, I can see where the problem is. And it's hard. It's hard taking a look at yourself. I mean, at least for me, it's hard to look in the mirror and say, this is my problem. I'd rather look at other people and say, he's got a problem. He's got a problem. No, I got no problems, but I'm not getting anywhere. And I'm not doing I can't change anything else, but I can change myself. So the first thing I got to do is I got to be honest with myself. And then I've got to take the proper steps to change myself. And the way to do that is not to, because I can't control what is going on. I can control my reaction. I can control myself. That I've got the power over, and I've got to know how to embrace that change. And one way to do it is to learn from other people, to be humble enough to learn. And, when I tried to do everything my way, and that was part of control, and that was part of my ego, the one thing I had to do is let go of that ego. That ego was not my amigo. I'll say that. It was my worst enemy.
Yeah, a bunch of those, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, if I relied on that ego, and the ego is based out of fear. It really is. It's a way I would try to protect myself, Yeah. And when I stopped having fear and I let go of that ego and I was open to listen, to want to learn, I never want to be the master. I always want to be the student. I always can learn. I learn from people all over the place. And they don't need degrees for me to learn from. They don't need, to have this position or that position. I learn from anyone I can, because, everybody has something that they can give to me that I don't have. And as long as my mind is open, and I keep my mouth shut sometimes. I may talk a lot right now, but I have to learn to listen to learn instead of listening to respond. And that really was something I had that made such a difference, because when somebody was speaking, I was already trying to think about, what can I say next? How can I sound smart? And it doesn't matter. I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. I just have to have peace with myself. And when I learned that these steps in humility and just having acceptance, it changed my life. It really did. I mean, I can't even imagine. I'll give you one of the most beautiful stories I ever had in my life. I was at a restaurant with my family, and one of my daughters, at the time she was 2, she was a little bit restless. So I took her for a walk at the strip mall. I got twin girls. They're almost 6, sweethearts. And so I'm taking one of my twins, and we come across this fountain, this water fountain over there. And she's all excited, jumping in the fountain. And I'm mesmerized with her excitement. She's looking at me. I'm looking at her. We're smiling. I'm seeing the water fountain. I'm in so much peace at that moment. I'm not thinking about yesterday. I'm not thinking about who I was angry at. I'm not thinking about, what I did. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not fearing the future. I'm right there living in the present with my daughter, having one of the most special moments of my life, ever. It may have been 5 minutes, it may have been 2 minutes, felt like an eternity. She turned around, She looked at me, and I just realized, and if I was drinking, I'd be like trying to grab her hand, trying to get back to the restaurant to get a drink. I didn't want to go anywhere. And that's where I realized where happiness is. It's in living in the present, not living in the past, not fearing the future.
Today.
How did you know? Like, I think a big tendency we have is to lie to ourselves and make excuses, which I'm sure during those times, like you said, when you're drinking like that, you're making excuses. You always were finding a reason why. There's a lot of people out there that have, and it's not just that, it's any struggle, right? The inability to get off the couch. They're not putting it all in at work to get the promotion, all of these little things, but they're talking, oh, well, the boss just likes Sally more than me, right? There's all these things going on. How did you find it within yourself to really take a critical look? And were there any like triggers that you were saying like, oh, when I do this, I know I need to take a better look at it. Something else is going on. Like you talk about that ego. I talk about with my wife, like when you're like getting defensive and you want to like argue, like, that's the same thing. It's like, well, no, you should just listen to what I'm saying. Why are we arguing? So I still haven't got that message across, but I'm just wondering what your take is on that.
I got to a point where I was frustrated, and I got to a point where, I realized I was not happy living like that. I realized that what I was doing was not productive for me, and, I was living in this, world where I was trying to convey on the outside I'm a certain way, but on the inside I was feeling, empty, and there was an empty hole, and nothing was filling up that hole. If I drank, if I had success, no matter what, nothing would fill that up. And I knew I had to change. I had to find a better life. Life, we can say it's short. We can say, we have one life, or, whatever. I got this one time over here. I want to enjoy it, and I want to find out what it is that can give me peace. And it wasn't in alcohol. It definitely wasn't. It wasn't in trying to, have an ego or in material things. What I had to do is I had to find out, what I needed to do. And first it started out, I wanted to quit drinking. That's the reason why I embarked on this journey. Once I got on the journey, and once I saw what I had to, what the program had to give me, oh my gosh, I wanted more and more and more. I mean, tomorrow night I'm speaking. I'm speaking at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and I'm so excited to tell my story, tell my whole story, tell the downsides and stuff like that. And the thing is that, once I came to terms with where I was, and I had a problem and stuff like that, it no longer had power over me. I'm no longer ashamed of it. I'm no longer embarrassed of it. In fact, if there's anything that I've ever accomplished in my life, ever, the thing I'm most proud of is these 5.5 years of sobriety. These mean more to me than anything else. Any wins in trial or anything like that. This is the most sacred thing to me.
Yeah, no, congratulations. You can tell just by talking, I guess, you light up about it, so it's fun to see, which is great.
Thank you.
Well, man, it's been good. I know you've been gracious with your time, so we don't want to take up too much of it, but I want to give you the last word here for our listeners. Anything you want to leave with them, and also where they can find you if they want to learn more about you.
My website is www.joshi-law.com. Our phone number at my law firm is 407-661-1109. And the one thing the best advice I can always give is just, living in the present. Honestly, I had to learn to let go of resentments that I was carrying. If I was mad at somebody, I was holding on to like a big rock on my shoulders, thinking about them. There's some people I was mad at, and I was thinking about them all the time. And once I learned to let go of it, and the way I had to let go of it was I had to forgive them. And that was a hard thing to do. I have to forgive people. Doesn't mean I have to condone what they did, but I have to forgive them for myself. I don't carry stuff anymore, and I live a more peaceful life. And, the one thing I do is, when I set a goal, I don't listen to those voices. There's a voice in my head that'll say, sleep in, Raj. You don't need to do cardio today, or, take the day off from the gym. I destroy that voice. As soon as I hear it coming, I destroy it. I mean, it's gone. I annihilate it. I look for that voice and I think about beating the crap out of it, because every time I listen to that voice, it brings me down. And so I've got to stay vigilant on myself. I've got to keep myself in check. That's the most important thing. I've got to look at myself in the mirror. Am I being honest with myself today? Am I being dishonest and stuff? And I can feel it when I'm being dishonest. I can feel that little cringe, and I don't like that feeling. So, those are things. Don't listen to those voices. If you set a goal for yourself, stick with it. Don't pick up that pizza. And people try and make me feel guilty. Oh, you're missing out on life. Oh yeah, you eat this, eat that. I'm like, okay, you eat it. I'm not missing out, because I've been there. And the only thing I'm missing out is unwanted body weight. I'm missing out on health problems, and I'm missing out on a lot of guilt. That's what I'm missing out on. So I got to stay true to myself and vigilant. And when I do that, I find that things turn out right.
Well, you look good, and
thank you. You look great too.
I'm getting there. No, but I mean, I told Chris that year round, you're really somebody who stays visually pretty much shredded 12 months during the year. So that's an accomplishment, because it's not that easy to be that disciplined, and it's a lifestyle that you have to accept. and you either like it or you don't. And if you don't, then I would not suggest for anyone to do that. But if it keeps you feeding positivity and keeps you creative and gives you all discipline and the possibilities to be better in other things, then absolutely. And I'm kind of following the same route there.
Yeah, I learned from you. I did learn a lot from you. I really did. I'd watch your food prep. I'd watch your diet. I was like, this is how you do it, and stuff. So I learned from people, and I want to thank you also. You were a great teacher to me and a great role model. You didn't know it for years. I told you that in the gym a few times and stuff. Because when you're prepping for show, oh my gosh, you're more intense than I am.
Yes,
you are. You become a different machine. So I see that, and I just implement small portions of what you do 100%, or and I do it at like an 80% thing. Over. I'm more like I'm more like a long distance cross country runner. You are like a sprinter, and you'll just get in shape like that. It's like when you see Roman in shape, you're like, shit, those abs or something.
Yeah, not right now.
Yeah, you look like you belong. You look like you belong on the cover of a magazine easily.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Now I'm blushing. I'm gonna get Chris there. Chris is gonna be on the cover.
Well, I've seen Chris's office, so I know he's got a gym behind there. So he's got a head start.
On my way. I like pizza too much, though. All right, man. Well, we appreciate it. We hope to catch up with you in the future. Best of luck. We appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It was an honor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have a good evening.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone. All right. So we just had Rajan on. That was great. Again,
very intense.
I think it's always interesting to me. Like, you see someone like him who's ultra successful. I mean, we read his bio. He's top 10 attorney in the state and all these accolades in law, and has such a terrible drinking problem for so long. We don't know what people struggle with or what's going on behind the scenes. And I think we look at that. I always equate to like church. You go to church, everyone's on their best behavior. They all look great and everything's nice, but man, during the week we don't know what's going on. Exactly. And it's like people looked at it like, oh, I could never do it, but they don't realize all the other stuff. So.
It is mind-boggling to me that he was able to turn on this, not being so great at school as far as grades are concerned in high school, and then just applying himself, really, for that matter,
right.
And then suddenly turn it from C's or D's or whatever, wherever he was, into A's immediately. Because for me, I was playing professional tennis, and all I was interested, I calculated on what I have to do at school and how many A's and how many B's and C's I can have in order to pass high school, just so that I can just pass by. And actually, I know that now because my mom reminded me the other day. And then fast forward, going to college, it was over. That kind of taught me on how to prioritize better. School is first. Sports is second.
I think there's areas we enjoy and can apply that focus and that dedication, right? And then
absolutely.
Like obviously he said from an early age, weightlifting, and that was always something he really enjoyed. But I think when we can apply it to other areas and turn it on or off, that's not something that's easily done. It's something that you need to have focus. You need to, like, that willpower, that drive. It's got to be built up over time and need to be repeated, right? I mean, it's not something you just turn on and off like that, unless you've done it in other areas of your life and know how to do it.
To the level that he is doing it, I mean, he is very intense, and he has a structure in place. He has a regimented agenda every single day. And I think as long as individuals like him that have such a tense profession, I think as long as they stick to it, they'll get through it, and it's I guess pleasurable.
Right.
When I go into competition mode, it's kind of like the same, because you can't do it any other way. It's just that's what it is. If you don't do it, you'll never get there. But on a daily level, it's difficult, Chris. It's difficult to live that lifestyle, and you just have to make that switch And either you like it or you don't. If you don't, and you can't justify it in your head, it'll never happen.
Right. Yeah. No, that was good though. And I think, I think sacrifice too, though, is something, we hear a lot, and it sounds bad, right? Like you're taking away something, but what you get on the other end, I mean, and everything's a trade-off, right? But I mean, I sacrifice time with my family for work sometimes, right? And we sacrifice to work out. And I mean, I sacrifice all over the place. We all do. And, I think it's something that is very important because, like, just food, let's take food for example. We talked about this before.
Mhm.
If I just did whatever I want, ate whatever I want, I'm gonna have health issues when I get older, and it's gonna be very expensive. And my quality of life, while I think it's awesome when I'm younger and I'm eating anything I want and all over the world trying things and stuff.
Yep.
When I get older, it's gonna be miserable, and I'm gonna have a terrible existence towards the end. So there's always a trade-off, and I don't think I think as a society, we live so much for today without really concern for the future.
Yeah, I mean, where he said live in the present, that's what helps him. There are also some downsides to it. Not really seeing what, and I think you're absolutely 100% on point there. If you don't figure out what's going to happen, if you eat certain things, if you do certain things, if you live a certain lifestyle, on what consequences it's going to have in the future, I think that you're missing the boat, and it's going to catch up to you.
For sure. What else? Anything else from that conversation that piqued your interest? I mean, it's very interesting, and he's obviously very successful. I think
he's very successful in this particular industry, and he's just a different type of individual that I personally like. He is very driven, and I guess you and I are the same way. It's just that sometimes we're a little bit laid back, and he's on all the time, and it works for him, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I think because we're all our own person, we all do our own thing, right? I mean, one of the reasons I work as hard as I do or think I do is so I can be laid back and relax and lay down all day on a Saturday and on the couch and watch movies and not feel guilty about it.
For me, it's for sure. I feel bad if I didn't put in. It's not necessarily that I just want to be here just so that I can say that I've worked long hours. That's not the case.
Right.
I'd rather work smart and less, but at this particular point, there's just so much to do that, you work at night. You work at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I think, and yeah, like you said, I mean, productivity over just being busy is very important.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe you can show the audience one more time where you're going to go after this by sliding back your.
Oh. Jim here.
And this is Chris's
behind the scenes
man cave.
All the magic happens.
Yeah, that's it.
Did my screen just go green? I don't know what just happened there.
It's green. That's okay.
Oh, we got it behind the scenes for sure.
That's okay.
All right. Well, cool. Well, Roman, thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Shokunin Journey Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, shokuninjourney.com/podcast, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. Be sure to tune in next week.